in the long-running political crisis in Rivers State. Minister of the FCT and former Governor Nyesom Wike has confirmed that his rift with current Governor Siminalayi Fubara has been resolved thanks to a peace meeting brokered by President Bola Tinubu at the presidential villa in Abuja. Speaking after the closed-door meeting, Mr. Wike said both sides have agreed to bury the hatchet and work together as one political family. He described the resolution as final, adding that everything is over. Governor Fubara also confirmed the truce, calling it divine intervention and a crucial turning point for the state.
To work together with the governor, and the governor also agreed to work together with all of us who are members of the same political family. Yes, just like humans, you have a disagreement, and then you also have a time to also settle your disagreement, and that has been finally concluded today, and we have come to report to Mr. President that is what we have agreed. So for me, everything is over, and enjoy everybody who believe to work with us, to also work together with everybody.
Very important that this day has come to be. What we need for the progress of Rivers State is peace. And by the special grace of God this night, with the help of Mr. President and the agreement of the leaders of the states, including our leader, peace has returned in Rivers State. We'll do everything within our power to make sure that we sustain it this time around.
This reconciliation comes months after high drama. Back in March, President Tinubu suspended Governor Fubara, his deputy Ngozi Odu, and members of the State Assembly for 6 months, citing the failure of earlier peace efforts. A state of emergency was declared, and retired Naval Chief Ibokete Ibas was appointed to oversee the state's affairs. Now, following Thursday's meeting with Messrs. Fubara, Wike, and the suspended lawmakers, the governor said the move signals a return to peace and order in the oil-rich state. This is the second meeting between President Tinubu and Governor Fubara since that suspension. Earlier this June, Governor Fubara had visited the president in Lagos during his 2-week stay in what many saw as a first step toward reconciliation. Well, let's now bring in political analyst and professor of politics and governance at the Ignatius Ajuru University of Education, Rumolumeni, Professor Kenneth Nweke, who joins us on the news this hour. Prof, good to have you join us. Another truce brokered by President Tinubu. Can we at this time all heave a sigh of relief that lasting peace has actually been restored, or should we approach this with cautious optimism?
Yeah, of course, caution is the word Bose in all of this that is happening in Rivers State. And of course, it's something that well-meaning people and residents of Rivers State should be able to appreciate God for that peace that seems to have returned with the resolutions between the two parties. But caution for me is the word going forward, because as far as politics is concerned, nothing is sacrosanct. When we talk about peace, there's no given way of making peace and things remaining the same, because politics is all about contestation for power, and that will not cease to happen. But in the interim, it's a sigh of relief, but that sigh of relief should not be at the detriment of the well-meaning people of Rivers State, because as we speak, there are over 5 million voters, against a few political gladiators. And of course, if this is not handled very well, of course, that would mean that these gladiators with their followers will be on one side, and then the people of Rivers State will be on the other side. And of course, you know that the people of Rivers State are greater in number, and they can also decide whichever way they want to go on the day of election. Because no one man, no two men, no few men determine what happens or what should happen in a state as treasurable as Rivers State. And so, while we want to applaud what has happened, yesterday, but it should be handled with a lot of caution on the part of the two gladiators and their followers to understand that River State means a lot to all of us and does not mean to a few people.
And interestingly, Prof, parties to this case have themselves said that peace is what is needed in River State. But I'm curious as to how you think this development might impact governance in all-rich River State. Do you see it setting the tone perhaps for Governor Fubara's reinstatement? And how soon do you think that would happen?
Are you talking about impeachment?
No, not impeachment. I'm talking about him returning now. At the moment, we have a sole administrator. So do you think that this settlement, this reconciliation among the political gladiators could actually set the pace for his return to the government house?
Of course, definitely. There are two things that can happen. One, they may want the sole administrator to serve out his 6 months tenure, while all strategies to perfect his return and a smooth governance and relationship between the executive arm and the legislature on one side, and the FCT minister and his own group on one side. And so while you may expect that there may be a quicker return, as opposed to the 6 months term that we are looking at, maybe something may happen quickly before the end of the month, but I'm not sure where I sit that no matter how quick that they have been able to resolve this, that these ones are also allowing it to sink or to assimilate very well. But it needs a little time for them to begin to, hop knob, take wines together, go some outing, do some other things between father and son, and then between the son, the father, and the children, one way or the other. They now begin to build that trust. And so except that happens, it may not be as quick as anybody would want to think that, oh, peace has returned. Of course, people are wounded in their hearts one way or the other. And so, including the governor himself, he will not be happy so much. And then the assemblymen, and then the followers of Wike and all that, they are all not happy one way or the other. And you don't expect any miracle overnight, for anybody to wipe off every sentiment that they have. But gradually, because the oracle Wike has spoken, and so the followers have no choice than to follow suit. But you need to be a bit patient, not to manage our expectations when you talk about a return, to government house. So manage that expectation, or even the worst, think of the sole administrator finishing his term and then a return, finally to government house will take place. So let people manage the expectations so that they don't run high blood pressure, please. All
right. The imposition of a sole administrator actually raised divergent views among people. As a professor of politics and governance, how do you think, it's actually impacting Rivers State? Do you think Rivers is better for it, or would it have just been better we just had, a full civil rule through and through without any of this happening?
Yeah, in the first place, the intervention of Mr. President, though not valid by my own assessment, but politically went far off to save the governor from being impeached. Because, to be honest, even Wike himself said it. The blind could have seen that the guys were ready by hook or crook to remove him from government house. In fact, heaven wouldn't have fallen. So they would have done so. And if this intervention has not also been done, very well, even if you return them, the guys were also bent to removing him, and heaven wouldn't have fallen, because of course Nigeria is a place where anything can happen. And so we sit back and watch gladiators, play around with our hard-earned resources without even questioning them. Of course, nothing would have happened. So for me, what the president did was, to act as a father, though not valid for what he has done, not following what the law said, but politically he salvaged the calamity that would have befallen the governor of Rivers State, that is Nyesom Fubara, if he had allowed the trend to continue at the time, because there was no peace, between the assembly and the executive arm of government, and on the other side with the FCT minister. And so what he did was to, halt that impeachment that was imminent, even if, like I said, that it was not, in line with the laws. Then, since then, governance has been very absent, totally. If you see the street of Port Harcourt, it is smelling everywhere. That means that the sole administrator was not, as one man and a few men. They were only out there to, see how they can, sit down properly, maybe not, and do what. But so governance was absent. I mean, to say the least, governance was absent or is absent as far as this period is concerned. Everywhere, nothing is going on as far as governance is concerned in Rivers State. So we wouldn't have also preferred Rivers State to have been in war, at the time. So it is for me better that the governance of Fubara was halted, or the governance of Rivers State was halted for what I call graveyard peace that is in Rivers State without progress, without development. It is better than that Rivers State is like this than being at war, which would have also destroyed all of the things that our founding fathers and all of us have fought hard, over the years. So in the interim, yes, it is good. The graveyard peace is better than the war situation that would have bedeviled Rivers State. And I'm sure that by the time they come back, Governor Fubara comes back to power, yes, to his seat, if these agreements do not expose the interests of Rivers people and generations to come, then there will be no problem. But if it is at the expense of myself in this studio, themselves or their children or their relatives or other residents of Rivers State, of course, that peace will be short-lived as far as I'm concerned. But well, if it is for the interest of all of us and our unborn children, of course, our people will pray for them and it will last. But otherwise,
I believe you've made your point, Prof. Thank you very much. Earlier you called Mr. Wike the oracle, where he said peace has finally returned to the state. We'll work together with the governor, and the governor has agreed to work with us. Professor of Governance, Politics and Governance at Ignatius Ajuru University of Education, Rumo Lumeni, Professor Kenneth Nweke. Thank you for your time on TVC News at 1.